Hey friends, welcome back to Learning Made Fun, your ultimate destination for IT training content. Today, get ready to learn T-SQL basics inside of SQL Server Management Studio. Whether you're a newcomer or a longtime subscriber, I've got some exciting and informative content lined up just for you. Grab those snacks, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's jump right into it, my friends. So we're going to start off here in SQL Server Management Studio. We're inside of the instance called, let's go see what the name of it is. We're going to go to Properties. And this one is just called SQL 2019, SQL 19. This is the name of the instance that we're in, and this is the host, 192.168.0.120. So this is the named instance. Inside of our database, we're going to open up a brand new query, and we're just going to start off by saying create database. We're going to say training 1. Okay, so we're going to hit F5 on the keyboard. It's executing the query, and it's been completed. Now we don't see anything on the left hand side, but we can refresh inside of the Object Explorer, and there's our training 1. Now there's a couple of other ways we can do this. We can say, let's just call this training 2. I'm going to highlight it this time, and I'm going to say execute instead of hitting the F5. It says commands completed successfully. We still don't see it over here. We can close it. It doesn't show up until we refresh. And there's our training 2. Next thing we're going to do, so we know how to create a database. What about dropping it? Just getting rid of it altogether. So instead of create database, we're going to say drop. Oops, drop, not drip. Drop database 2. We're going to highlight it. We're going to execute it. But I still see it over here, just like before. We're going to refresh, and it's no longer there. Now I could do the same thing and say drop database 1, but just like before, I'm going to hit F5 on my keyboard. Command completed successfully. I still see it there until I refresh, and it's gone. So we learned how to create a database and how to drop a database. Great, so let's move on now to tables. So we're inside of SQL test. It's opened, and you'll notice that there are no tables yet, nothing up my sleeve. So we're going to say create table, and we'll give it a name, customer 1, and then let's say that there's ID. Inside this ID, this will be an integer, and then I want names. This is going to be a varchar, and we'll say 50, right, F5. So I've created a table. Let's do this 3 times. We'll say table 1, table 2, F5, and then let's change that to number 3. And 3 and F5 on the keyboard. So I don't see any tables. Let's go ahead and refresh. Open up that database. Open up the tables, and now I have 3 tables in here. Created these tables over here. Let's do a drop table, and we could actually drag this over, and let's drop that first table, and then if we come over here and refresh, go back to our tables, I have 2 and 3, but number 1 was dropped. So now let's go back and create number 1 after we deleted it. Okay, so we can't just say create table customer 1 without identifying the columns inside of it, okay? So let's refresh. And there we are, we have our customer 1, customer 2, and customer 3 tables back inside. I'm going to say select everything from and I'm going to say F5. And notice I have ID and names. Those are the two columns that I had identified earlier. So what I want to do, now that I see that there's no data inside of these columns, I'm going to try to put some in there. So let's go ahead and say update. Actually, now let's say insert into, and I want to insert into that table. So insert into DBO or DBO.customer1, and my columns are ID and names. Those are my columns, and then I gotta give it the values that I want in there. So I'm gonna say values will be the first one is ID, so I'm gonna say ID number 1, and my name will be, let's just say Jack. And let's highlight that and execute it. One row affected. Now let's do a select statement again. And now I see not only my columns, but my data in there. So let's go back and insert a little bit more data. And this is going to be Jack 2. Select again. Alright, so now what we could do, so we could take this, paste it twice. This is going to be number 3. This is going to be number 4. This is going to be number 5. Same thing over here. Jack number 3, 4, and number 5. There's different ways of doing it, but we're just practicing, training. And this shows us a couple of rows that were affected. Let's go back and select that again. And here we see that now we're starting to put some information or some data into our tables, at least table customer 1. If we were to do this with table number 2, we're going to get nothing. And same thing with table number 3. Right, so far we've only been inserting data into there we are, into the very first one. Okay, so once you go ahead and create the tables, now it's a matter of how do I get the data inside of them. Okay, command, so we're going to say update, and we need to update this table right here. Alright, so we're going to say update that table, and we're going to set ID. Now instead of 5, we're going to change that to 6, and then we're going to say where names is equal to Jack 5. And let's highlight it. Let's execute that. Let's go back and run the select statement again. And there we are. We updated row number 5 to ID 6, which used to be 5. All right. Okay. Last thing we're going to do today is we're going to alter the table. So let's look at what we have on customer 1. We're going to say select everything from that table. Alright, so let's highlight it. And we notice that we have 2 columns where we've been adding some data manually. So we have ID and names. So now we're going to go and alter that table. Right, so let's go down here and we're going to say alter table, and we're going to add city, the column. This is going to be varchar 50. Right now we have 2, ID and names, and we're adding city. Right, so let's execute that. And let's select it again. And now notice that we have ID, names, and city. Now because I didn't enter any values in there, it's null. And we'll talk about that. Well, we could just use the update and enter that in there. And we'll talk about that later on another video. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.